Hello everybody, welcome back to my Tribulations of the Mage devlog series. And I know it's been a while, but for this video I'm gonna be going over the new spell system I've had implemented into my game. And I'm gonna be going over some of the challenges and the design philosophies for this new system. So let's get right into it, and I hope you enjoyed. So what you're actually looking at right now is just a widget that I called Spellbook, which initially was going to be like an inventory widget, but I decided just have its own separate widget for spells and stuff. And the purpose of this widget is that when the player presses I, which is that's what I have binded at for right now, it will bring up this widget, which will have multiple spell buttons that the player can click on that they can use to set the spells in different slots. So let me just go into the game. So as you can see at the top left, there are 3 blank squares, which are meant to serve as spell slots for the player. And those 3 blank squares are connected to the F, G, and H key. And like I said, when the player opens up the spell book by pressing I, they would click on one of these buttons, and then it will be set to a slot on this on this row of white blocks. And the way that it works is that when the player learns a spell, so I'm just gonna learn Magic Bolt. So I learned it. Now you can actually interact with this button, and then once they click on the button, it'll bring up a widget that will ask for a spell slot. And let's say for right now I'll choose spell slot 3. And now as you can see, that spell slot is picked for that spell. And then since it's on 3, it's connected to the H key, and it casts that spell. And since there's nothing in the first slot, it does not do anything. Obviously I'm gonna have to kind of fix that so it doesn't drain the mana, but the system works so far. That's like I said, I'll have to go back and fix that. So and then even the save game works for it, so that when the player saves, that spell is still unlocked and that spot is still in, or that spell is still in the slot for the player. So let's go over how I actually accomplished this. So the first thing I did is I actually made some changes to some of the variables. So before the changes, I only had one spell variable, which is just an actor. But I changed it so that I have 3 spells, so I just wanted 3 for right now. I might add more. But I just changed it from spell 1 to, spell 1, spell 2, and spell 3. And obviously one of the other changes is that in spell conditions, I just have it check, if there's a slot in the, if there's a spell in a slot, or, if there's a spell active so that it can cast properly. Like I said before, if I didn't have that or variable, I wouldn't be able to, cast multiple slots. Because I had to make changes and add the new spells to the spell conditions checker. So like I said, there's spell 1, 2, and 3, and then obviously in the game mode, I added the spells slot, the spell 1, 2, and 3 to the save game, and then I also made another kind of set of data, which is just called spell information, which has the visibility, the different spells. And then, if the check if the button's enabled, check the visibility of the buttons, stuff like that. I might make changes to this, to seeing how, depending on how I see fit. I know one challenge I ran into was that it didn't work well with the image variable, so I just kept that in the player, as you can see right here. Oh yeah, I just kept it there. And then, obviously, this is in the save game as well, as you can see right here. But I'll make changes to it if I run into problems or I find a more efficient way to do it. I just thought, making this data struct would be the most efficient way to do it. And that's just kind of an experiment right there. So that's how I did it on the variable side. I made a new set of variable or struct for the save game, and then added more spell variable actors. Now let's get into how I got the casting to work. So in the magic event graph on the player, I used a selector, which, based on the spell index, it selects which spell to cast or spawn. I kind of just did this because at first I had multiple notifies, but I found that I was kind of getting a problem where, it would cast all at once, or I did this so that it could only cast one spell, which is what it's intended to do, just cast one spell at a time. So I hooked up the spell actors into the select node with a spell index, which gets set when the player presses one of the spell buttons, so that it knows which actor to spawn, depending on the index. So that's how I did it on the player side. Now going into the interacts, honestly, I have this, this data struct, and then I kind of set everything. And then, depending on the spell, honestly, this is the magic bolt. I set it to enabled, and then I get the spellbook widget from the player. Excuse me. And then I set the visibility based on this data struct. One interesting thing I kind of ran into is that, honestly, let me go to another spell item real quick. One thing I kind of ran into is I kind of have to keep these up. I mentioned the wrong one. I kind of have to keep these, checked, because I found that if I picked Earth Spike up first and then picked up the Magic Bolt second, it will kind of remove the Earth Spikes. That kind of is a problem, but it's not too big of a problem for me because I plan on having spells as it's a form of progression. So realistically, unless the player is trying to break the game or speed run, you shouldn't be getting Magic Bolt before you get Earth Spike. It kind of gives me a good chance for level design later on where I want to play spells, etc., stuff like that. And if not, I'll obviously go back and fix it. But for right now, it kind of works kind of well. At least the problem kind of benefits me because, like I said, I can focus on level design. Then I can choose, which spells come up first, second, or third, stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, I just have to say instruct in the spell interact. Once it's interacted with, get this, change the variables depending on whatever, and then feed it into the, set this ability to set enable, which is just sets the button in the spell book widget. And then, place the sound. This does everything, the normal spell interact does. Now let's go into the spell book. Like I said before, there's these spell buttons. I'm going to go over how they kind of work. So each of these buttons are obviously connected to a different spell. As you can see, this is connected to the Magic Bolt. So when this button is pressed, it will create the spell selector widget. And then I get a variable in that spell selector widget called selected spell. And then set it depending on the spell button. So obviously this is the Magic Bolt button. So the selected spell will be BP Magic Bolt. And then I do the selected spell image, set it to whatever image is selected. So I set it to the Magic Bolt image. And then I just add that spell selector to the viewport. And I'll just do a quick demonstration of that. So right now, as you can see, the spell isn't learned, so it's kind of faded and you can't interact with it. But when I learn Magic Bolt, open up the spell book, it is now interactable, and you click on it. So when you click on it, it brings up these three buttons, which represent the slots. So since that Magic Bolt is selected, and since the image connected to this Magic Bolt spell is the Magic Bolt scroll image, when I click spell slot 1, it is set to the Magic Bolt image, and it is the Magic Bolt spell. And if I were to pick up Earth Spike, press I, click it, let's say I override spell slot 1, and then let's say for this I want it to be on 2. It is now Earth Spike, and this is also Magic Bolt. So that allows you to make combo spells and, select the loadout you kind of want, which just gives the player more freedom and it kind of makes it more fun. And like I said, this is supposed to be a Zelda-like game, but the main thing is that Instead of a warrior, you have a wizard or a mage. So this feel it makes so I guess this makes more of a mage feel, and it makes kind of makes the player feel a little bit more powerful. Like I said, restart it. So that's how it works. You know, you click the button. You know, each button has like a different spell for it. So like I said, magic bolt for the magic button, earth spikes for the earth spikes button, and in the same way with the rain of lightning. But instead of the like an actor, I just have the ultimate supposed to be names. So it has a different name connected to it, as you can see right here. So and that's basically takes the functionality that was in the item interacts or the spell interacts, and so this puts it in the widget so that you can pick and choose which spells you want. And then in the spell selector, which is just these three buttons right here, the way that works is that obviously it checks if it's paused. I kind of just had this so that, you know, if you press I again, the thing like the widget wouldn't just stay on the screen. So the way that works is that, you know, say you press spell button 1, you get the selected spell and set the spell 1 actor variable in the player as a selected spell. And then you also set the spell image as the selected spell image. And then, this is kind of just more tests. And then once that button is clicked, I found that, you know, get it to work so that, you know, there wouldn't be one cell image for 3 slots, or that, you know, there wouldn't be 3 spells for, like, there wouldn't be 3 spells for the slots when you only want it for spell 1. Like, say, I guess I'll go over it. So a problem I ran into is that when I learned the spell, and then when I actually pressed the button, all those slots would be filled, and it would just be 3 magic bolts, which is just what I didn't want. So to fix that, I simply have it so that when the button is pressed, the spell image and select the spell is left blank, so that it can be refilled again, and the widget is just removed from the player. It's the same functionality for the buttons. And then I actually had an ultimate spell selector, which is essentially the same. Let me just find it real quick. Here it is. So I see it's just one button because I didn't want more than one ultimate spell. So it's essentially the same thing, you know, except instead of an actor, you just get the image and the name and feed it back into the player. So that's how that works. And then, let's see. So that's how the spell selector, and that's how the spell book works. And see, what else do I need to talk about? Oh, it's in the graph. I actually have, these image variables. Let's see if I go over that. Oh yeah, I had spell image. I had also different spell image variables as well. I forgot to talk about that. So in the character portrait, you know, I just have the images binded with, you know, the different, you know, the spell 3, get the spell 3 image, stuff like that. So I just have, it's basically the same thing. I just have, like, you know, have it binded, and in the event graph, you go over it. Get to use image variables, set the visibility. I did a lot of you know, testing here to get this to try and I guess work essentially. You know, as you can see right there, very sure. So that's how I got the spells to work. Like I said, I kind of did a lot of testing to try to get these images to work. And right now they're kind of just brushes, or I have, you know, brush variables, stuff like that. And then, so image 1, 3. Let me see if I talked about that. Let's see. Where's the selector at? Put my character. Just try to find it. Spelling it. Oh yeah, I can see. Yeah, forgot the over at. So yeah, just like the spells, the selected spell image gets fed into the spell image variable that's in the player, so that it can also get saved and then change depending on what spell you have. So right now I just have 2 spells, but theoretically I can add a multitude of spells now with this system, and I can set them to whatever I want them. You know. That, and then let me actually go over the ultimate spell as well. So pick up these spells now, and just like with the regular spells, I click it, click this, click the cell, hit the ultimate spell slot to set it, and now I have it in there. And just because I want to wait for it to load again, show off the other spell, and as you can see, it works just like that. So now you can also choose which ultimate spell you want. And that's the new spell system that I have for the game. And then, I don't know if I talked about it, but like I said, I wanted the spells to feel important in the game. I wanted them to feel, I guess, customizable in a way, so that you can choose which loadout, because obviously I want more than just attack spells. You know, maybe I can have a spell that makes a wall, and the player can choose, you know, what combo they want, so that, you know, it feels more unique and fun to be a mage. And like I said, I was having a kind of a good bit of problems because, like I said, I've never really done this system before, or really an inventory system before. And obviously, I kind of looked up, you know, there's obviously, you know, tutorials on how to maybe make a spell book, but I didn't want to just, you know, reinvent my whole system or re-up everything. So I really want, so this is a main fun challenge, just try to make a you know, a spell book system that goes with my game, and I've successfully succeeded with that, as you can see with the demonstrations, and I'm pretty happy with that. Like I said, I just wanted to make a system using the stuff I have. I didn't really feel like I should have looked up anything, or I don't think it would have helped that much if I looked up anything. So a lot of this was just kind of from scratch, and it turned out pretty well. Obviously, I'll make the UI look a little bit better for it, but as of now, the system works just as it is intended. So like I said, the system works as almost perfectly as intended, so I'm pretty happy with that. And just to give a quick, you know, rundown, the new spell system works is that you learn the spell from the items, and then once you learn them from the items, you get to go into the spell book, and then you can click on these buttons to set the spells to different slots, which are connected to different keys. And then the same goes with ultimate spells, so that you can mix and match the spells you have for your player, and I just do your own kind of little play style. And now, since I got this system to work, if I add like trinkets or items in the game, I'm pretty confident that I can kind of replicate it for items as well. So yeah, that's the new spell system. I like how it turned out. It was a fun little challenge, you know, basically doing it from scratch. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next devlog. Thank you for watching.